everybody, I'm glad you're here today. Today is January 18th, 2024, and I am bringing you a dream that my dad had, as well as a word at the very end of this video that I received after worshiping. Y'all, I just write it down. I'll just read it to you. Y'all can sift it through the Holy Spirit, see what you think. It's from July of 2023. It's just a little blip, but it'll help us. It'll encourage. It also warns. It's insightful. This dream, y'all, it's got so many elements in it. I cannot, there's no way I know what all of this means. If you are given any insight at all and into this dream, please comment below and please help us to kind of understand. I invite you. If you need prayer requests, shout that out. If you want to give an encouragement, y'all, that is your voice. The comment section is your voice. This video is my voice, and we all got something to say, so let's say it. So that's kind of what I invite you to do here. All right, and I'm going to get to this. This is a long dream. All right, January 11th, 2024. And let me just preface this with, we are believers in Jesus Christ as the Son of God. So everything I bring you is in that context, all right? So here we go. January 11th, 2024, there was an outside event. It was like seniors in college age men, all upper level, upper class in a stadium. And it felt like, my dad felt like, that it was some kind of a qualifying event for getting into an elite society kind of thing. So my dad, came in late, and there was one seat left, and he sat down in it, and there was kind of just chubby guy beside him, young man, college age, but he was a little bit overweight. All were dressed very well, and so was my dad. Suit, tie, white shirt. My dad felt in place with these people. He did not feel out of place. An instructor came out and began to address the group of men, and they walk up, this instructor and these people that were helping her, I don't know if it's a man or a woman, came and began to pass out manuals, take one and pass it down to the young men sitting in the stadium. And then, I guess it was a man, he stood before us, before my dad and all the group, and said, "You will go through a rigorous and physical requirements. You will go through rigorous and physical requirements." And the boy beside me felt very uncomfortable. I'm sorry, let me put that in my dad's voice. The boy beside my dad felt very uncomfortable, and he said, "I don't know if I can do that." That's what that chubby boy said. The first event was, there was a long wall down on the floor of the stadium. And along the wall, there were these water spouts all along the walls, these holes. And water was coming out of these holes. The instructor said, the first event is what you need to do. You need to take a clay pot, run along the wall, and get your clay pot full of water, and then go behind the wall, and there will be someone there to show you where to empty the jar. Who will go first? And so my dad just stood up and said, "I'll go." Now, the chubby boy got right in behind my dad, and then everyone else kind of lined up. But my dad was first. And he ran, he got his clay pot, and he really ran as fast as he could and filled up the jar. And he could hear the chubby boy behind him, like breathing real hard. But my dad got it filled. He went behind the wall, and there was a man there. And there was like an open hole in the wall, in the back of the wall, with like a spout or a lip on it. And my dad just emptied the jar right into that hole, and back into the wall. And then he had to go over to the sideline, wait for everybody else to finish. Now, everyone got done. And then it was like the next event. And they were taken to an outside area along a highway. Someone in the group said, "I've heard of this. It's the 12-mile endurance thing." And then suddenly the instructor said, "Start running." And so my dad ran along as fast as he could on that highway. Um, and in fact, and I mean, he was running fast. He was doing good. It was like he was racing. It was very aggressive. And he was up in front for a while. And then they came to a body of water and they had to swim across the water. That was part of the event. So my dad had become so tired, but the others seemed stronger at that point. Hang on. So they jumped in the water and were swimming, but my dad had begun falling behind with a few others, and my dad felt like he had to hurry up and catch up. Then he looked up ahead as he was swimming, and he noticed there was a group ahead, and they were slowing down, and he wondered why. And then along the highway beyond the water, he saw a funeral procession going along, and it was to his right. And they all heard, "Stop to show respect to the funeral." It was just kind of announced, "Stop to show respect to the funeral." So it was at that point my dad was able to catch up, and he got out of the water. Everybody got out of the water. Now, when they all got out of the water, they began to march, and they turned a corner as they were marching. And there were like 4 military guards right there, lined up. And they were in uniforms, but not uniforms he necessarily recognized, but it felt like military uniforms. So they all lined up equally behind each of the 4 guards. So they were 4 lines. And my dad was in front, at the front line. And there were barracks behind these guards, like military barracks. And they were at the end of these barracks walls. There were barracks behind these 4 guards. So the first guard in their line said, "Follow me." So we followed, and he marched, and they all marched into one of the barracks. And that was our quarters. It just felt like our quarters. It was a completely empty room. So they were told to sit along the wall, back wall on the floor. And then a woman instructor came in, and she looked all of them over, and said, "What are you doing wearing glasses?" to one of the boys. One of the young men had glasses on. And she looked at him and pointed and was very severe and said, "What are you doing wearing glasses?" So then my dad came to his defense, and my dad said, "He's wearing glasses so he can see." Well, that brought her attention to my dad, and she was mad. And she said, "What do you do?" And my dad tried to kind of smooth it over and apologize, and he just said, "I'm a farmer. I am a farmer." And she said in a very condescending way, "Oh, do you raise corn?" And my dad said, "Yes, we raise corn." And she came closer to me, and then suddenly there was a corn stalk in front of him that was tasseled. It was right in front of him, just one stalk. And it was mature, but there were no cobs on it yet. And she said, "I know," she said, "if you know so much about corn, then tell me about this corn stalk." That's what this woman said to my dad. "If you know so much about corn, then tell me about the corn stalk." And my dad said, "To have corn, you have to shake the stalk to make the tassel release the grains to form the cobs. That's what he explained, how it pollinates and grows the corn. The grain falls into the leaf shoots, and then that develops the cob. And she said, "Oh, really?" And then she grabbed the corn stalk and shook it really hard, and the grains fell off of the tassel into the shoots of the leaves where the cobs grow. But there weren't any cobs yet. And she said, "There, now the corn has pollinated and it will produce corn." Oh, no, that's what my dad said, actually. "Now the corn has been pollinated and it will produce corn cobs." That's what my dad said. She backed away, and one of the men on the other end said, "He doesn't belong in our group. He's not sophisticated enough. He's a farmer." So that's what one of the young men said about my dad. And my dad did not respond, and nor did this woman. So they were allowed to stand up and go into another room and sit at tables. And they were told they were going to eat and drink. My dad went up to the guy who was tacky to him about being a farmer and said, "We need to get along. Can we sit across from each other?" And they shook hands. But when they shook hands, this boy, you get a firm handshake. This boy's hand was really mushy. The grip just, when my dad took his hand, it just was like not even a formed hand. It was just mush, as if he had never worked a day in his life. So my dad took note of that. They sat down across from each other, and then these people came from the kitchen and brought these little bitty wafers with cheese on it to eat. And it was really not enough food after all the activity they had gone through. And my dad asked the boy sitting across from him, "How old are you?" And that boy said, "Take a guess." And my dad said, "Early 30s. And he said, "No, I'm 25. And then my dad said, "How old do you think I am?" And this boy said, "I guess 45. And my dad said, "No, I'm 83. And they came in and said, suddenly these people came in and said, "It's time to fix up your living quarters to go to bed." So they were they went back into a room, and they were given 4 panels on the floor. They were all 4, each one of them had 4 panels, and they were to attach them to make a frame, and then put another panel to insert it on top to make a bed. So they make the sides and then the top for a bed, and they were trying to piece them together, and it was very awkward. And so my dad was trying to attach them, but they kept falling apart. You get one side connected and go for the third side, but then it all just crumbled and fall apart. So my dad said to the guy next to him, "I'll help you, and then you can help me." And we worked together, and they got their bed set up. So my dad got on the bed, and it was not comfortable at all. It was just a board. So then these men came in, and they sprayed foam on top of all the bed panels, and they were now comfortable. So they now had their beds. A man came in charge of the barracks, and said, "Lights out at 9 o'clock. Lights out at 9 o'clock. And so my dad asked, "Can we even just go to the bathroom?" And he said, "There's a window." Sorry, that's crude, but that's what he said. And my dad said, "We can't do that." And so the man kind of jokingly said, "Oh, well, there's a bathroom down the hall. You have 15 minutes. Everyone can go to the bathroom." Well, that's what that man said. So my dad had already noticed when he came in where the bathroom was. So they got to the bathroom, but there were these machines that would not allow them to use the bathroom, and they had to pay 25 cents to use the bathroom. And somehow my dad was able to reach in his pocket and found some change. He found a quarter and was able to use the restroom. And then suddenly he was back in the bed, and that was the end of the dream. So suddenly it ended where suddenly he was back in his bed. That's the end of that dream. Now, y'all, I don't want to lose any of these. Okay, so I know there's a lot to that. I know there's numbers in here that I don't know what all they mean. I know 25 and the quarter. The quarter seems to be a thing. 15 minutes. The boy was 25. My dad had a quarter. It's 15 minutes till 9. I don't know what all that means, but I think it means something. If I were to put an overall meaning on this dream, there seems to be a process of training, a very rigorous training, but at the point of the funeral, it was a great equalizer, meaning everyone caught up in the race at that point. So the funeral was a very pivotal point in this dream. And then from then on, it was very military and very structured and not any freedom. So that's my overall, I would say, if the Lord is telling us something, he's saying, let me fill your jars of clay with my Holy Spirit, which is the water. The manual, I believe, is I've given you instructions on how to do this. That's what I think that first part means. The rigorous race, y'all, I know there's things about that. That highway, running on the highway, to me, probably means things are going to happen fast. All right? And we're going to get tired. The swimming in the water, I don't know if that was just an event or if it represents floodwaters rising or if it represents the Holy Spirit. I don't know what that represents. I do know the funeral part was pivotal because everybody caught up at that point. I will say in our culture, and I don't know where you live if y'all do this, but when there is a funeral procession, and I'm sure y'all do this, you pull over on the side of the highway. You let the funeral procession go by. And even I have seen men do this, and my son and husband and father have done this. They get out of the car and take their hats off in respect for the funeral, the person who's passed away in the family. So that's kind of was the essence. I wondered if the funeral is the death of our country, is the death of America. And that will be a great equalizer on the world stage and in our nation. I wondered that. Now, when they go into the 4 guards, I know that 4 represents worldwide things. So I wondered if this is like pointing to whatever happens is going to affect the whole world. The rigorous, they didn't have freedoms after they got taken to the barracks, which I find very telling. The corn, y'all, if you listen to my previous video a couple of days ago, explaining how corn works, yet I don't know if that means shortages. I don't know if that means the farmers who are not necessarily valued now may be valued more when we know where our food comes, how to bring the food about. I don't know. That came to mind. Or there will be provision for believers. I also found it really interesting, y'all. The boy that had his glasses on, and she was like, "Why are you wearing glasses?" And my dad was like, "So he could see." Does that mean that there's a lot of blind people, and there are people in charge that don't want us to see? I wonder that. I thought that might mean something. Now, I also think, I don't know exactly what all the beds, putting the bed together, you've made your bed, now lie in it, came to mind. But I don't know what that section means. I don't know about the going to the bathroom other than being very controlled. lights out 9 o'clock. You have 15 minutes till it's 9. 9 means judgment in the negative. So I wondered if that is what's coming, if that's part of this. Look, there's going to be major changes in your country, and it's going to involve judgment. Those are just some thoughts about this dream. I wish I knew more about it. I do think it has spiritual meaning. I think, overall, it's like you need to train for what's coming, everybody. And that means going down deep into Jesus and hanging on to him right now. We're like running on that highway and swimming in that water, y'all. So that's what comes to mind about this dream. Tell me what you think. Y'all are just rock stars in that regard. And then if you don't know, read the comments below. Now, I want to read this before we lose too much more time. This is from June 17th, 2023. After I was in worship, while I was in worship, I wrote this down. I'm just going to bring it to you. You do the sifting through the Holy Spirit. They are planning death and destruction upon your nation. Fear not, but know these evil days are now upon you. Listen to me, child, as evil men plot your demise. And so I asked Father, what will it look like? Nothing you have ever seen can compare to what you are about to see. For as the plots are made against you, so is the devastation of your land. Be ready, my child, to see the unseeable in your mind's eye, and remember this morning. And remember this morning as I warn you what is coming. Ready yourselves for the panic that is sure to come your way. Get positioned by me and me alone. I will protect, but you will be shocked by what you see, by what you will see. Believe only those you know and trust. Tell all you see, Jesus, my son, is near. And that was the end. June 17th, 2023. I don't know if I brought that word before to you, but I'm bringing it now. So y'all, you let that simmer. You let that do what it needs to do in your soul. Turn to Jesus now. While we have that wind of time, it's peaceful here. Y'all, my husband's fixing to take me out to supper. We're going to go to town. We're not even going to Dairy Queen. We're actually going to a restaurant. So I'm fixing to go do that and enjoy this warm day. Whatever happens, whatever goes on in your life personally or on the world stage, y'all, anchor in Jesus right now. This is our training time. That's all I have. Stay safe, America. This is Gina Lama Charlie. I'm out.